Hello, my name is Christopher Tremblay, and I'm a doctoral student at the University of Michigan-Dearborn School of Education. I am studying educational leadership as I pursue a doctorate in EDD, and my topic is graduate coursework in college counseling, an exploratory study of the certificate program's training pathway in the United States. So what do I mean by college counseling? Well, there's multiple synonyms used for this term. In fact, you might hear college admissions counseling, college access counseling, and the newest term, college readiness counseling. But regardless of the term, it is the intentional advisement of high school students to assist them in preparing for, applying to, enrolling in college. Now, why is this research important? Well, first of all, it's designed to fill a gap in the literature. As I have uncovered, there is very little written about graduate certificate programs in college counseling. So really what I want to do is provide a foundation to document the current practices of what's going on out there. In particular, it'll be helpful to chronicle the history and evolution about how these programs came to be. And essentially, and very specifically, I'm looking to explore the role, content, and depth. And most recently, a researcher from Harvard, Dr. Mandy Savitz-Romer, in June of 2012, indicated that, quote, certificate programs are a route to college readiness counseling. So we know that these programs exist, and they're trying to have an impact in terms of increasing the number of degrees in preparation for college. And specifically what I mean by that is there are three organizations nationally, the federal government, the Lumina Foundation, and the College Board, who have made it a goal by 2020 or 2025 to increase the number and percentage of degree holders in the United States. But in order to get to that, we need to make sure that college is accessible and that students are ready for college and know the steps to get to college. And as you can see there, the need is about 16 million more college graduates in order to meet the workforce demands of the 21st century. So my primary research question is, do college counseling certificate programs in the United States meet the needs of national college access and college readiness goals? Specifically, college access is really the opportunity for students to consider and enter a post-secondary educational environment. And notice here that post-secondary is a synonym for college, so it's really any post-secondary options. Whereas college readiness are the preparations necessary to enroll in and succeed in college. In the context of this study, it's looking at those steps to search for colleges, apply to colleges, all of the steps related to financial aid, so all of the non-academic factors in terms of college readiness. And then specifically, my four sub-questions kind of scope out my research, with the first question focusing on the identification of the programs, moving on to why these programs were created, what kind of content is being covered in these programs, and who are the learners or the types of students who are enrolling in the program. So as you can see through these themes in terms of what I'm seeking to document, so the identification really will give me an idea of what's going on in the landscape, how many of these certificate programs exist, and where are they located. In terms of formation and rationale, just understanding why these programs were created. Were they more for revenue generation or to actually meet needs, or a combination of those? Then it moves on to course content. Again, trying to look at what are the theoretical, practical, and applicable content that is designed to help professionals, help students prepare to go to college. And then finally, who are these students that are in the class? Who are pursuing these certificate programs? And essentially, why are they doing that? As I look to position this research, or at least to understand, it's important to understand this concept of the training pathways for college counseling. So essentially on the right side, you'll see that I've, in green, indicated all of the informal ways that this training is acquired in order to be shared with high school students. And again, these are all non-credit bearing, again, ranging from conferences to workshops and visits and connections with high school or college admissions counselors. But on the left side, in the blue, are what I would call the formal or the credit bearing. And again, this formal versus informal derives from research that's been presented by Dr. Nate Down Barnett, who has looked into this topic as well and who's a member of my doctoral committee. And essentially, within the formal side, you can see that there are actually two pathways. There are the programs that are affiliated with a school counselor preparation program and those that are not. And as I'm learning through some of my research already in progress, that these programs live in both of those purple boxes. Some are affiliated and some are not. And then, of course, there's also, these are programs that have just single courses that you can take on their own. But again, I'm looking at a program because it involves a credential at the completion of the program. In terms of my research methodology, this is a qualitative study really designed to be exploratory and descriptive, to again present kind of a state of what's been going on since 1991 when these programs were first created. As such, specifically, I'm going to be using a case study approach involving multiple cases. My goal is, again, to research in depth 3 of the programs nationally. And essentially, my data is going to be coming from really 3 primary sources. Archive data, which will include proposals on how these certificate programs were pitched in order to be approved. May also include information coming about course descriptions, course syllabi, and then I also will be administering and have already started administering 2 online questionnaires, one for program directors and also one for the learners and recent graduates. And then also telephone interviews and or in-person interviews, again, as I see fit, as follow-up to the questionnaires, but also for more in-depth information collecting. With the plan to use NVivo for data collection and analysis to look for some of those common themes, because essentially when it comes time for data analysis, I'm looking for patterns. And also looking to see where there are consistencies or differences in the way that these programs are offered, administered, what their learning outcomes are, their goals, and how students are benefiting from that. And also related to explanation building, again, being able to explain more in depth about these certificate programs as a pathway and how they are helping, again, to meet or not meet those college access and college readiness goals. And then ultimately to be able to compare and contrast between the different programs and among the different programs that I'm looking at for that cross-case synthesis. In terms of verification, obviously because I've got multiple sources of data, I'll be able to triangulate the information. Also will be important that I do some member checking where I allow my research participants to read through what I've been collecting to make sure I've accurately captured what they've communicated so that I'm representing the information and knowledge that they're passing on to me. And then finally, clarifying researcher bias, making sure that I'm being as objective as possible, given that I'm a college admissions professional myself, needing to make sure that I'm looking at this as objectively as possible, not in favor or not in favor either way, but remaining as neutral as possible. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about my research that's in progress, because I kicked off my research about 45 days ago to about 60 days ago. I have identified one potential pilot site to start with, just to get a sense of what the landscape looks like, and I have conducted the start of that pilot site research. I have launched my online questionnaire because as part of my research I did uncover that there are 7 existing graduate certificate programs in the country thus far. Of those 7 questionnaires, I've received 5 responses for a 71% response rate. 4 have participated, one has declined, and as a result I'm waiting for 2 more to hopefully complete that and again contribute to my study. I have gathered 1 certificate proposal, but I have also received resistance from 2 sites not necessarily interested in sharing that proposal. So again, I will need to seek alternate ways to gather that information so again I can put together a little bit of the historical perspective and rationale for these programs. And I'm also in the process of gathering promotional materials, which would include publications, postcards, email messages, things that are done to, again, attract enrollment in these programs. In addition, I have conducted one in-person interview with a certificate graduate from one of the programs, and I also conducted one telephone interview with an instructor in one of the programs who also serves as an advisory board member, so I was able to get a dual perspective through that interview. Some of my preliminary findings are that most of the coursework is offered online. There are some courses that are in person, but a lot of the programs are designed to be online, which provides obviously for greater flexibility. And essentially there are three types of learners that I've been learning about in the classroom in these programs. The first one is the active counselor, somebody who's already doing this work maybe in a high school and is wanting to enhance their skill set, perhaps because they didn't receive that training in a school counselor preparation program. The second one is an at-home parent or somebody who just went through this process with a family member and was intrigued by it and also wants to be able to help others and develop their own knowledge base. And then finally, for somebody who's also in a career shift and is looking to go into this work, many times perhaps as an independent education consultant. So those are just some of the things that I've learned about with some of the types of learners. The certificate is practical in nature. Again, it's really designed to provide a lot of the nuts and bolts and how to really covering in detail those steps that are required to, again, prepare for college. And then finally, that the content and assignments in the courses kind of range in rigor. And again, this has just been initially uncovered just by, again, taking a look at the types of materials that are covered, for example, in some of the syllabi that I've looked at. In terms of some current research challenges, two of the sites are non-responsive. And so I'm awaiting them. And then one site declined participation, so unfortunately I won't be able to include them in my study. And again, just this resistance to disclose documentation. Again, a lot of proprietary information attached to this, a lot of intellectual property that the faculty believe, again, should not be shared, even though I've assured them that I'm not using this to, again, start my own program, but again, publish research that talks kind of about the state of affairs related to graduate certificate programs in college counseling. Again, ultimately, my outcome is to fill a gap in the existing research. Again, very little has been written about these, and a lot of what's been written has been more kind of opinion or editorial or push for it, but nobody has necessarily provided the research foundation. And I think this will really open up the doors for further kind of investigation kind of on this topic and how it could potentially emerge. I see it as an emerging academic discipline that will continue to evolve, especially as the need for more college graduates becomes more important as we transition with our economy. And it's going to also provide some great insights about this training pathway, again, because very little has been documented. And then finally, it also offers some research-based recommendations for continued evolution. I'm hoping that schools that are interested in starting a program could use my research kind of as the foundation, the supporting things that they need in order to help them, pitch a program, kind of understand the national landscape on this topic. And then finally, would like to have professionals use this data and research, in their next steps. So then that way, again, this is serving as a foundation that can go a lot of places and can be helpful for a lot of different people. In terms of my next steps, my plan is to finalize my 3 research sites and then hope to conduct those site visits with in-depth interviews in person in April, May, and June throughout the country. And then also need to administer my online questionnaire to certificate holders, graduates, and also students currently enrolled in a program, so I can get their perspective on what this experience has been like for them. So I want to thank you, the online viewers, for learning more about my research. related to my doctorate program. I also would like to thank my doctoral committee, Dr. Bonnie Beyer, who's my chairperson, Dr. Stein Brunvin, and also Dr. Nate Down Barnett. And again, also want to thank the Michigan Association of Professors of Education Administration and this virtual research symposium for providing this opportunity. So I look forward to sharing with you additional research updates as the opportunities present. And thank you again for learning about graduate coursework in college counseling. Have a great day.